Picture this. You're walking through the tunnel. The smell of grass and hot dogs hits you, and then you hear it. 70,000 people screaming in unison. It's that feeling of home that money can't buy, right? Well, actually, someone just put a very specific price tag on that feeling, and it's higher than you think. Let's look at the receipt. The NFL Fan Cost Index, the standard measure for what it actually costs for a family of 4 to attend a game, is now sitting at $631.63. That's an 11% jump in a very short window. It's outpacing your wage growth, it's outpacing general inflation, and it's turning a Sunday ritual into a luxury expense. But here's the wild part. Even at those prices, the fans aren't the ones driving the real numbers. As we sit here in early 2026, every single one of the 32 NFL teams has surpassed a $5 billion valuation. Every single one. The Dallas Cowboys? They've officially hit the $13 billion mark. That's not a sports team anymore. That's a sovereign wealth fund with a helmet. When you see those numbers, you have to ask, who is this for? Because if the average family is being priced out of the nosebleeds, the business model has clearly shifted away from the person in the jersey and towards someone in a tailored suit 3,000 miles away. Let that sink in for a second. Your hometown team is now a multi-billion-dollar asset class sitting on a spreadsheet in Manhattan. We're witnessing the death of the community asset and the birth of the institutional yield machine. And this isn't just happening by accident. It's a calculated high-stakes play for the one thing left in this world that can't be faked: your attention. But if the fans aren't the ones driving these valuations to the moon, who is holding the keys to the stadium? All right, let's talk about the real problem. Why is this happening now? To understand the why, we have to look at August 2024. That was the pivot point. That was the month NFL owners voted to allow private equity firms to buy up to 10% of their teams. It sounds like a dry administrative rule, but it was the equivalent of opening the Hoover Dam into a garden pond. But suddenly, firms like Arctos Sports Partners and Blue Owl aren't just watching from the sidelines, they're in the huddle. Arctos alone has grown its assets under management by over 400% in just 3 years, reaching $11 billion. Why? Because in a world where AI is making software cheap and Netflix is fighting for every subscriber, sports is the only thing people still watch live. It's what Wall Street calls a non-disruptible moat. You can't disrupt 100 years of being a Steelers fan with a new app. Think of your team as a utility company for your heart. You can't just stop using them when the price goes up. If the power company raises rates, you pay because you need lights. If the team raises ticket prices by 7% in a single season, which is exactly what happened when PE interest peaked, you pay because you can't imagine not being there on Sunday. Private equity knows this, and they aren't looking for a trophy to put in a case. They're looking for a 15 to 20% internal rate of return. Ian Charles, the co-founder of Arctos, calls sports teams irreplaceable infrastructure. He's right, but infrastructure is usually designed to serve the public. When infrastructure is privatized for maximum yield, the service becomes extraction. They're bringing in the professional capital to modernize stadiums, sure, but they're also bringing in the cold math of efficiency. And in the world of private equity, efficiency usually means finding new ways to get more money out of the same number of people. When a firm manages $11 billion in sports assets, they aren't looking for a championship ring. They're looking for a payout. How do they plan to get it out of you? So how does this actually work on the ground? It's what I call attention harvesting. We saw it with the NBA's latest media rights deal, a staggering $76 billion package. That's a nearly 200% increase from the previous deal. To justify that kind of debt and investment, teams have to move way beyond selling beer and tickets. They have to monetize every single second you spend thinking about the game. This is where the global web tightens. Follow the money from the private equity firm to the betting apps on your phone. It's not a coincidence that as institutional ownership in the NBA hit 66%, the integration of DraftKings and Fandom became seamless. You aren't just a fan anymore. You're a revenue unit. Your microbets, your fan tokens, and your dynamic price jersey purchases are the interest payments on the multi-billion-dollar loans these firms use to buy into the league. Take the Golden State Warriors. They're valued at $11 billion now, but look at their model. They built the Chase Center not just as a gym, but as an entertainment district. They're maximizing non-game revenue 24 hours a day. It's a brilliant business move, but it shifts the focus. The game becomes the loss leader, the thing that gets you in the door so they can sell you the lifestyle, the data, and the gambling opportunities. It's a software mindset applied to physical space. Economist Andrew Zimbalist warns that this is a valuation bubble. He argues that the only way to sustain these multi-billion-dollar price tags is to cannibalize the fan base. You keep raising the barrier to entry until only the top 5% can afford to be real fans, while everyone else is relegated to a digital-only experience designed to harvest data. It's a split-tier society where the communal ritual of the stadium is reserved for the elite, and the common fan is just a data point on a screen. Is this just the natural evolution of business, or are we witnessing the modern version of an old predatory historical pattern? Let's zoom out for a second. To understand 2026, we have to go back to 18th century England. It sounds like a stretch, but stay with me. Back then, there was something called the Enclosure Acts. For centuries, there were common lands where anyone could graze their sheep. It was a communal resource. Then, the wealthy landowners realized they could make way more profit if they fenced that land off, privatized it, and turned it into industrial wool production. They called it agricultural efficiency. But for the people who lived there, it was a disaster. They were kicked off the land they had used for generations so that a few people could maximize their yield. Fast forward to today. Sports is our modern attention commons. It's the one place where the CEO and the plumber sit next to each other and care about the same thing. It's our communal grazing ground for emotion and identity. What we're seeing now is the enclosure of the fan. Private equity is the new fence. By turning teams into high-yield financial instruments, they are effectively fencing off the commons. If you can't pay the $600 fan cost, you're out. If you don't want to be tracked by a betting app, you're less valuable to them. The efficiency they talk about is the same efficiency the 18th century landlords talked about. It's the efficiency of turning a shared culture into a private profit. Kevin Miles from the Football Supporters Association hits the nail on the head. He says this financialization severs the link between a club and its community. When the fence is fully built and the common land is gone, the sport loses its soul. It stops being a story we tell together and starts being a product we consume alone. We're trading our shared history for someone else's quarterly earnings report. When the fence is fully built and the common land is gone, what does the new normal look like for your next Saturday afternoon? So where does the map lead us? As we look toward the rest of 2026, the trajectory is clear. The Dallas Cowboys hitting $13 billion isn't the finish line. It's the new baseline. Fandom is being transformed into a high-end subscription service. Soon, the idea of owning a jersey or a season ticket might seem as quaint as owning a DVD. You'll subscribe to your team, and that subscription will come with a debt instrument attached. We have to recognize that the real value of these teams doesn't come from the owner's bank account or a private equity firm's liquidity. It comes from us. It comes from the shared history, the generations of loyalty, and the community that built the brand in the first place. Wall Street is just trying to capture the rent on a house we already built. They're betting that our emotional loyalty is so strong that we'll pay any price to keep it. But here's the deal. A team without its community is just a collection of expensive athletes in an empty room. The leverage still belongs to the fans, but only if we realize that we are more than just revenue units. If we accept the enclosure, we lose the commons forever. We have to decide if we're okay with our passion being treated as an asset class to be traded between firms. The next time you cheer for your team, remember, they've already calculated the value of your shout, and Wall Street is waiting to collect the rent. The scoreboard that matters isn't in the stadium. It's on a private equity balance sheet in a skyscraper thousands of miles away. So I have to ask you, if the world's largest pension funds are the ones really calling the plays, whose team are you actually rooting for?